was driving from Baltimore to the Eastern Shore of Maryland because I was negotiating contracts out there, and it was raining, and I started to burst into tears because I could feel this young one in the back seat. I could feel that this young in the car seat, and I was thinking, I'm earning $40,000 a year. I'm working 70 to 90 hours a week. I have no idea how I would pay for daycare for this young one, and I'm going to have a heart attack. That was literally my thoughts. This situation is not feasible, which was heartbreaking. I mean, I really loved what I was doing. I really did. You're just going to do it. I empathize with that, right? I'm like a dog with a bone. I said I was going to do this. I'm going to do it, right? But that doesn't give you the space to go, do I want this? Do I want this?
Yes. Do I want this?
The space to really sit with that, because if I don't, that was a hell of a lot of work. So I started to touch on it's so difficult to know what you want if your nervous system is fried. And what EFT does is it talks to the part of the back of your brain. There's a little pea-sized thing called the amygdala that's actually responsible for whether you live or die. And so if it thinks that something's going to kill you, it'll give you a surge of cortisol in your system, which lawyers are really good. We live off of that cortisol. It's
and adrenaline, man. Cortisol and adrenaline.
Exactly. We're all about it.
Mainlined all the time.
And it's a necessary hormone, right? It is a bogeyman in some way, but the problem is it builds in your system. We don't have time to do the physical. We make a decision not to take the time to do the physical work to actually drive those cortisol levels down, for example, right?
I think you have time.
Exactly. And so we get this really screwy thing with our bodies where then we all of a sudden can't go to sleep at night and we can't wake up in the morning. And that's, I think, a lot of the dependencies that we see. It's like we can't even do the basic things.
Hello and welcome back to the Will Podcast. I'm so happy to be here today with my friend, Michelle Thompson. I can actually honestly say Michelle is become a friend. We met through online shenanigans of lawyer coaching stuff, and we started hanging out a few years ago. And we have our usual place where we meet for dinner, sometimes on Sunday nights. And Michelle's been a guest inside the Will community, and I'll tell you more about her right now. So Michelle is a business coach who works with women lawyers who are exhausted, working 70 to 90 hours a week, frustrated, near burnout, trying to grow their practices and billables and sacrificing, unfortunately, time with their family, friends, and their health. And she's got over 3 decades in law and academia. She's not just a lawyer. She's also a PhD and has over 10 years helping as a professional coach, helping her clients achieve sanity with a variety of embodied techniques, which we'll talk about today, that combine left and right brain, but are also very strategic and included techniques such as emotional freedom technique, also known as tapping, which we will definitely do today. And maybe we will even do some tapping together, which would be so much fun. I'm just going to spring that on you. All right, so Michelle, welcome to the Will Podcast.
Thank you. I'm glad to finally be here.
I know. We have the schedule.
I'm sure I can't figure out a schedule. I mean, this is great. Here we are.
No, I had pneumonia over the summer when we were supposed to do it before. Here we are, and all is well. So, Michelle, take us back to your legal career and you're becoming a lawyer and what that journey was like for you.
Becoming a lawyer. So I'm from the Midwest. I was born and raised in Chicago, and many Chicagoans find themselves in the state of Iowa for higher education because they have really good schools for much lower price. Now, hindsight's 2020, right? I can see the threads of what were my hobgoblins then, right? I remember starting my mornings. I had one of those coffee makers, and at the time I didn't really drink coffee, but I had caffeinated tea, and I would slam 3 cups of caffeinated tea before I left to go to law school. Right? This is not a legal job. This is law school. I would get there, it was 8 in the morning, and then I'd have a Mountain Dew. I'm really sensitive to caffeine. I have no business taking in that much caffeine ever, right? And I do the day wired, ready to go. And then at night, I couldn't fall asleep. And so I bought like 21. I bought a big old bottle of Boone's Farm wine, and I would have 2 or 3 glasses of that to put myself to sleep. It didn't happen all the time, but that was not unusual for me in law school to try to muscle my way through it. And I don't think I'm very different. You muscle your way through law school. It's what you do. I want the degree. We're going to do it. We're going to do it no matter what. And it was long before law schools had wellness programs for whatever they were in the present. I don't mean side-eye by that, but we don't know their efficacy at this point. Maybe they do. So I started practicing law, and I was in the inaugural class of Equal Justice Fellows. At the time, it was known as the National Association for Public Interest Law. And I worked at Whitman Walker Clinic in D.C., which served people with HIV and AIDS, which was great. And it was very normal hours, and I was very committed to public interest work. Very normal hours, 9 to 5. And what would I do after work? I would go drink. There was a place nearby, and they had a buffet, and then I could get cheap drinks, and here we go. And then after my fellowship ended, I started working with a really amazing healthcare union based out of Baltimore, but also had members in D.C., including Whitman Walker, where I worked. I loved it. I was negotiating collective bargaining agreements in my late 20s and early 30s. It was me and then Big Law across the table, Aaron Fox. They wrote out these agreements, right? In addition to that, I was doing public sector collective bargaining as well. And so it was a coalition of unions vis-a-vis DC government management, and many of them didn't actually have much of a legal or organizing or bargaining strategy, and I was the one who would come in with that because I can't stand incompetence. It makes me crazy. So while I was busy doing that, I would wake up in the morning. I love food. I have no idea what I ate. I would just get up, prepare quickly for the table. I would grab something to eat on my way to Baltimore, because I would always have to check in with the leadership of the local. I would stop at a Starbucks, get my soy milk latte, not even decaf, just whole thing, suck that down. By the time I got to the office, to ease my social anxiety, I was smoking because everyone smoked there. So I'm like, great. I joined them smoking. And then at nights, my spouse actually at one point really had a very fine tasted wine. So I would come home, I would open a bottle of wine, and I'd have 1 or 2 glasses. And I could tell they were really good wines. I probably shouldn't have the whole bottle. That's sick. And I would go to sleep. And this was my cycle, 5 days a week. And at the time I was doing that, I also wanted to become a mom. That just really pulled at my heart. One day I was driving from Baltimore to the Eastern Shore of Maryland because I was negotiating contracts out there, and it was raining, and I started to burst into tears because I could feel this young one in the back seat. I could feel this young in the car seat. And I was thinking, I'm earning $40,000 a year. I'm working 70 to 90 hours a week. I have no idea how I would pay for daycare for this young one, and I'm going to have a heart attack. That was literally my thoughts. This situation is not feasible, which is heartbreaking. I mean, I really loved what I was doing. I really did. And I loved my coworkers. I loved them enough that actually one of them died last year, and I went to Baltimore for her funeral, right? I love these people. At that point, I met my spouse, and she said, if you want to have a child, go ahead. And she said, you could get a doctorate, which was not on my list of things to do in this particular lifetime.
Okay, wait a minute. You can have a baby and a doctorate, no problem. Well, she held you in very high esteem.
I will say that she really did, and she really respected my intelligence. So I was like, because I saw an off-ramp. I finally saw an off-ramp. And so I applied, and I actually got into the master's program initially. So I was like, great, go to NYU. It's been real. And we took 3 months off, and then I was in New York. I got to New York, I don't know, a week before 9/11. Wow, you guys really know how to welcome a gal in the city.
Oh, my God.
It's true. It's actually true.
Hey, was your partner, because I know she was a professor at NYU. Did she get a job at NYU there at the same time?
Yeah, we were in different schools. She actually started at NYU the year before, and she was commuting, and she was actually teaching at that point. And then I got into, so she was in education. I was in graduate school of arts and sciences. So we got there, and I did the master's. I got into the PhD program. You're introducing me. I was listening to someone talk about the other day that Black women are some of the highest degree people you'll ever meet. Yeah, I'm responsible for that stat. You're welcome.
You helped pull that up.
Exactly. Got to keep the same about the averages. I know things. I know lots of things. And for real, I love the research project. I was working on the descendants of a runaway slave community in Jamaica after slavery ended, because Jamaica tried to get rid of them, and they were like, it's like this. And if Jamaicans would, that's no. We were good at that. That was my research, and I was totally into it. As I started my doctoral work, I was pregnant, and I had my son. And actually, so the classes part of it, actually, I enjoyed a lot of it. Being in classes was really exciting. It was like, oh, you want me to read? You're going to pay me money. Like, you're going to cover my tuition to read and write. I've got this.
I've got this. I'm here for it. Oh, my God. There's so many lawyers who would just love to get paid to read.
I'm like, for real? Okay, I'm good with this. I loved it, but after spending hours and hours on the road, quickly pulling together bargaining proposals for in the morning, revising them in your head in the evening, after that madness, I am like, I'll sit my butt over here in that chair, and I will read, and I will give you a response paper. Thank you very much. And I did it. And I absolutely did it, even with this young one. So I did that. So I failed my comprehensive exams the first time. And I was very pregnant. I was like 8 months pregnant when I took them. That next year, I was growing. It seemed I could get this kid to live a year and studying for my comps again. And I passed them the second time. And off to Jamaica, I was doing research. But here's the thing. The good thing about becoming pregnant is that you actually have to pay attention to your body.
Yeah, so what happened to all that caffeine and alcohol and smoking?
I drank a lot less caffeine because I was getting more rest. I stopped smoking. And actually, it's interesting. My body makes very clear signals about what we're doing and what we're not. When I would smoke, I started to become nauseous. I'm like, ew. So I stopped smoking, and I gave my body enough of a break to go, I don't like this. Because I was trying to get pregnant and wanted to be pregnant. Alcohol, I certainly drank a lot less. And then I drank nothing when I was pregnant. And I actually didn't drink for 8 years. James was 8 the first time I drank again. I just had no appetite. So there was that. There's a lot to be said for that. And there are politics in everything you do. Any workplace that you're in has a particular grind and particular politics. My advisor didn't seem to, brilliant woman, no harm, no foul, but didn't have confidence in me that I could do this and finish it. She actually said twice, I don't think you'll finish.
I don't think you'll finish your dissertation?
I don't think you'll
finish.
She
said, your advisor said that to you?
My advisor said that to me. This is not unusual.
Was she a white woman?
No, she wasn't. Is this a bet? That's how I hear it.
I believe you. Of course, I believe you. I'm aware that there can be some very unconscious undermining.
Exactly. So this was my version of law firm life. I'll put it that way. That was my version of law school life, right? I'm going to weave in my sister's story while we're at it. While I was working on my doctorate, she actually had gone to New York to NYU to work on a doctorate, decided she didn't want to do that. But she was actually then working on a law degree.
Oh, God, so you guys flipped. Your sister started academia. All right, I'll get your sister on the podcast another time.
But one of the interesting things is that she failed the bar the first time. Actually, I had failed the bar the first time.
Yeah, a lot of people do.
Exactly. And I looked at her, I said, this is not a measure of what you're capable of. She just burst into tears. I said, this is a stupid test. So what you're going to do is I have a system for you, and you're going to work the system, and you're going to pass this. I said, you're going to stop writing essays because I know you can write the essays and they know you can write the essays. You have to handle the multiple choice, and this is how you're going to handle it. And she was like, because I will do that. I'm like, sit your butt down. We're going to do it this way.
Are you her big sister?
I am her big sister. I'm the older sister, yeah.
I just love that phrase. This is not a measure of what you're capable of.
Exactly.
This is not a measure. If you failed the bar the first time, this is not a measure of what you're capable of. And that's a profound statement for, I'd say, so many women lawyers.
At any point in your career,
the thing you're doing right now is not a measure of what you're capable of.
Exactly. There's so much more. My advisor wasn't particularly invested. She wasn't confident that I could do this. And of course, if you say, I don't think you can do it, I'll be like, hold my beer. I'll be right back. It's true. I was like, really?
Really? Try me.
Oh, okay. I go home and I figured out I was on a list for graduate students and getting help for their dissertations. That was the first time I'd ever hired a coach. She was a coach and an editor. And I called her. I was actually, and then finally I could feel the tears because I actually reached out for help. And I said, she hates everything I write. I don't know what to do. We got to get this done. And this woman's, okay, how much have you written? I said, I've written every single chapter. She's, oh, thank God. I had 3 months to pull this all together. So she edited it, and one of the things I really took out of that was everything has an argument, and my arguments weren't tight enough. If that's all that was, you know I can finish this. Come on. Anyhow.
You had a full draft. It was just a question of tightening your argument.
Exactly.
This is not a measure of what you're capable of.
Not a measure of what I'm capable of. Although my hard drinking era was over, I remember sitting those nights typing away. It was in James's room. He'd be sound asleep, and I'd be like, go on, all in my butt through it. And I had these images of martinis, and like, we're not going to have that now. We're not going to have that now. You're going to finish this damn thing. And I got drafters. These are good. I'm like, thank God. Okay. And I got it done, and I defended. And I remember one of the professors saying, you've actually made a contribution to the field.
Oh, that's beautiful. One would hope that's what your PhD work at NYU. Nice. That's a lovely thing to hear.
It was. After that, 2008, we know what happened in this country. The economy went off the rails. And academia is really good at pivoting. Oh, we can do more with less. And they do that very well. So the jobs that were available in 2008 were no longer available in 2012.
The academic, the full tenured professor.
The tenure track positions were not available.
And that was probably a big shift in academia.
It was huge. And I was doing African diaspora work and Caribbean history, and those are like fluff positions. I don't mean that in terms of fluff content, but that was like optional. We don't need that. That's optional. Those are the positions that got cut. But they still wanted people to teach them, so I was adjuncting at 2 schools on Staten Island and 1 in New Jersey.
Oh my God. And you live in Harlem. Okay, can we
So at the time I lived in Lower Manhattan.
better?
Slightly better, but not much. It was a huge schlep.
And for anyone who doesn't know, what kind of pay do adjuncts get paid?
I was earning less than $30,000 a year.
Just so people here know, like if you're listening and you don't know, because how would you know unless you know someone who's an adjunct who tells you the truth about it? So adjunct teaching can be great if you want to try teaching and dip your toe in it, if it's your passion and you can afford it. But if you don't have something else, adjunct teaching,
It's a grind.
it's a grind and it's not a way to really make a decent.
And I was teaching 5 courses, 3 different schools.
Oh my God, Michelle. So what was happening in your mind, body?
By the time I got to the fall of that year, I graduated, and by the time I got to the late fall, I got really depressed in a way I was unfamiliar with that for myself. I was really seriously thinking about ending it for myself. I was like, I can't believe this. I cannot believe this is my life. Part of it was because if something happened to Fran, how would I take care of my son? This is unacceptable to me.
Thank you for sharing that.
I think it's important because we all have those places.
Everything you're saying, the alcohol, the grind, the push, the thinking, the external validation.
Exactly.
It's all part of the culture that we're trained in to get the cookies and the gold stars and the atta girls and the pats on the head.
Painful part of my life.
At the end of that, when you're running around from New Jersey to Staten Island to Manhattan, like grinding. And how old was your son at the time?
He was 8, 9.
He was 8.
He was a young one. He was little.
I think so many people face that dark night and feel that they're alone and feel like everyone else is fine.
Everyone's figured this out and I haven't, and clearly I'm a failure. That's how it came to me. I have a really immense support system and a peer counseling group, and I feel like they really helped pull me through that. They could be with me and sit with me as I went through it. So step 1 was, okay, you're going to apply for these damn jobs and you're going to do it with your whole chest. So I did. I would send out applications. I actually got one on-campus interview and I came in second. Not bad out of a pile of whatever, but it wasn't the job. Sometime after that, I got an email that said, you can get a scholarship to be a coach. Excuse me.
For anyone not watching us on video right now, Michelle and I are both, Michelle's putting up her glasses.
Exactly. I need to read that. I wasn't entirely sure what a coach was, but this peer counseling organization was about listening to people and asking people questions and helping them with their hardest, most gnarly stuff. And I'm like, I think I have some skills here. So I wrote the application. I sent it to the person who was looking at them. And it turns out that he had been part of this organization before. So he knew exactly what my skill set was. And I got the scholarship. So I got it and I didn't look back. I was still adjuncting, but I now had a focus. I'm like, I'm going to do this coaching thing. And I went all in. It was an ICF program. And so that was my International Coaching Federation program. I did the thing, of course, because I'm like a dog with a bone. And I started to coach people and actually started coaching academics because that's who I was hanging out with at the time. That's how I got into the business of coaching lawyers. And boy, that was a really long answer to a very simple question.
That's okay. It's beautiful. Everyone's got a journey. It's really a journey, and one thing leads to another. And I think it's beautiful to lay it all out like that, Michelle, because people think, oh, she's a coach and she had it figured. None of us have it all figured out. And that's why, I thought it was going to be a linear path, especially for lawyers. It's so lockstep from law, often from K to JD, I say. And then the on-campus interviews, and then summer associate, and then 3L, and then you just keep first year associate, second, junior, mid-level, senior. What if it's not sustainable? What if it is that 70 to 90 to 100 hours? How did you transition into coaching lawyers after academia?
I was having a conversation, probably with my sister, with one, but I think there were some other lawyers I had a conversation with. And my sister left big law for other reasons. But one of the interesting things, like my advisor, there was a woman at big law firm who said, I don't think you're cut out for this. After she won an arbitration and won her client's case, and the arbitrator cited her work, she's not cut out for this. And I'm talking to other lawyers who are actually getting burned out. And I was like, at that point, it'd been 20 years. I'm like, we haven't fixed this.
No, we haven't fixed this yet. Guess what, Michelle?
No, Michelle, we haven't fixed this yet. So I know something about this. I'm talking to people and I'm like, been here, done this. No, I didn't earn that kind of salary, but I know the hours. I know the 70 to 90 hours a week. I know the burning out your body. I know that you love this thing. You love, God, I tear up as I think of it. You love what you do. It can't be at the cost of yourself anymore. I'm like, let's roll up our sleeves and get back in this.
Do you think a lot of women lawyers love what they do?
You know what? I don't know that we have space to figure it out. I did love what I did. I really did. Every once in a while, I talk to someone. I have a client who really loves doing guardianships. But she's actually getting to the point in her life where she's like, this is a lot of work and I'm tired. What she's thinking through isn't that I hate guardianships. It's that this is too much. Or the women who do matrimonial law, God bless them, they love what they do.
Yeah, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'm sitting in my own discomfort with my question because it was such a generalization. The people I speak with have a bias, right? Or a self-selected group of women lawyers who are not happy. So it colors my lens of, and I can't generalize to all women lawyers. The women I speak with, and I'm curious about the people you serve also, they want to do work that's meaningful and fulfilling. They don't want to make more money for banks and insurance companies. They want to be good at their job. They don't want to work in a place where they're always feeling like I'm failing, I'm behind, I'm going to get in trouble, I'm going to be discovered for the fraud that I am, because the culture here is only perfection is the only standard. And I think they want to contribute. They want to be valued. They want to flex their intellectual prowess and muscles. And I've got a client who's been a longtime tax lawyer. She loves the puzzle and putting it together, but she's over the hours.
Exactly. And I think that's what it is. For many, like I said, I don't think many of them have the space to go, do I like this? And you're just going to do it. I empathize with that, right? I'm like a dog with a bone. I said I was going to do this. I'm going to do it, right? But that doesn't give you the space to go, do I want this? Do I want this?
Yes. Do I want this?
The space to really sit with that, because if I don't, that was a hell of a lot of work. It's like burning bridges. I don't know that you're necessarily burning bridges, right? But we've done a lot of, right? You did the law school thing. You did the bar. God, you did the 300 jobs before you got to here. And then your associate. Who wants to actually take time to actually really think about that question? Who wants to feel that?
And who's got the time? I think that's one of the biggest barriers for women lawyers to come into at least my program. I want to figure out, do I want this? But who's got the time? Who's got the energy? And all that litany of things you just said. I invested so much in this already. Can I really do something else that makes good money? I don't want an adjunct salary. I don't want that kind of money. I can't live on that. Or I'm the bread earner for my family. I can't make $30,000, $40,000. That's the story they're telling themselves. It's so hard to see outside of that story when you're in it.
Exactly. I think that's it. I know lawyers, the women lawyers who I've come up with, they love the intellectual work that they do. Right? Like I had a client who was a trust and estates attorney, and she loved this stuff. I know in my world, given what I did, I hated property law. In law school, I was like, just shoot me. I know I have to take this course, but just shoot me. And then I would start doing my dissertation. All of a sudden, I understood the why behind a lot of it. I was like, what? It was fascinating to me.
What a fascinating connection between your law school training and your
Exactly.
PhD.
I didn't leave it behind, right? It followed me.
And that's what I tell clients all the time. You take everything with you. You're not leaving anything. You bring all your experience and education with you.
I think that's it. It's not per se that, it's not that people hate it. It's just that you don't have the space and their consequences. Many people say, you left academia. No, that's who I am. If people still ask me questions about, could you help me sort out what I wrote? Because I will help you restructure that thing in 10 seconds flat. And it's really good. I bring those skills to bear. I don't leave any part of myself behind.
That's beautiful. Yeah. And so do our clients, right?
Exactly. All the things.
But figuring that out, do I want this? So is that part of your work now with lawyers, is helping them figure out, do I want this? Or are you really working with people who want to stay and just want to make it more manageable and tenable?
I do ask them that question. Do you want this? I'm like, I'm happy to go down that road if you want it. And they think they do. I can only do as much as you can tell you can do, right? If you think you want it, then let's figure out building the book of business and having the billables. As I go deep in with people about that, I really do you have to calm. Lawyer, God bless us, our nervous systems are shot. It's not the fault of anybody, right?
No, wait a second. I'm going to take umbrage there, my friend. There's responsibility all around. The law firms have responsibility for the cultures in which they create. They create those cultures very intentionally. They are bean counters. They count every 6-minute little bean. Every little 6-minute bean is a 6-minute bag of money. And you better go there like walk a little Pac-Man, capturing those little bags of money.
I was actually about to say that we need the law because it fuels capitalism. Here we go. Officially on my, whatever we call that thing. Law is the mechanism that we can fuel capitalism. Right? It's the mechanism which we can transfer wealth. It's the mechanism where people can become obscenely wealthy. Yeah, that's a bridge I'll die on. And there are things that we expect people to do to make that happen. And especially if you're in big law, that's why your nervous system's shot, because you're busy serving those interests. And it's not, you're not a bad person for doing it.
You're choosing to serve those interests.
You're not a bad person for it, but you're choosing.
This is where I do believe we all have personal responsibility. We all have agency. We all have the power to pause and say, wait a second, is this what I want? Do I want to keep fueling this system? Do I want to keep sacrificing my energy, my life force, my 6 minutes, my sleep, my time with my kids? I just spoke with a woman who I met in my neighborhood. She had a Kirkland Ellis bag, and I was like, oh,
I know something about you.
She's gone to another one, and she just is in that story of I can't make money doing anything else. And I only get to see my kids for half an hour in the morning and maybe an hour at night. And I do, without blaming her, do you think we all have the responsibility to just be like, is this what I want? And to believe this is not the measure of what I am capable of.
I will say this, though. I also think that you can't quite escape it, right? The reason I was working 70 to 90 hours a week for $40,000 a year when I was a lawyer was because I was up against those interests. The people who want to exploit labor and to build as much wealth as possible takes it out of absolutely everybody. My moral stand, I fought in my early 30s about this, and I was still on the same treadmill that lawyers and firms were on because those interests demanded the exploitation of workers.
But you got off that treadmill.
I got off. The bottom line is that was cute. And I'm killing myself, so I'm done.
Do you believe that people have personal responsibility to step off that treadmill if it's killing them?
I really took that responsibility. I think about my life now in Ren, and there's so many parts of myself that didn't have room to show, right? Good news. I did some really amazing athletic things. I did AIDS ride twice. No, I did AIDS ride once. I ran a couple of marathons. That was really cool. My musical self was buried for years. Music did everything to me. There was no way I could have done it in that life. There's no chorus for me because I wouldn't have been around for rehearsals.
Now, just say what you do in terms of chorus now, because you go to her.
Ever since after James was born, I used to be at a church downtown. All right, if you don't know New York City, I'm just going to say Greenwich Village because that's where it was, something concrete. And I actually sang in their choir every Sunday. That was really lovely. And then the conductor decided to take it a different direction. I sang in opera choruses for a while. So I did with Amore Opera, a production of Don Giovanni, and I did Die Tapperflöte, the magic flute, and there's another one that I didn't actually like that much, but I did that. I got to do the opera choruses, which is amazing. It was absolutely lovely and absolutely amazing. And then COVID. And so after that, and I actually did a vocal recital in 2018. And that was like, wow. My sister thought the recital was in tears. I said, are those good tears or upsetting tears? And she was like, that was beautiful. I had no idea you could do that.
Now you've got time and space for more of you.
Music, yeah. And I sing in a choir now. We're at Carnegie Hall regularly.
I went to see Michelle at Carnegie Hall for the Christmas show. It was so fun.
True story. Talk about not knowing who you are, right? I'm often like, oh, yeah, I'm a singer. And people are like, Michelle. I'm like, okay, yeah, I sing well. And I sing with choruses at Carnegie Hall.
You're good, right? You're capable of so much more. I do want us to start to wind down, but tell us briefly about EFT, Emotional Freedom Technique.
So I started to touch on it's so difficult to know what you want if your nervous system is fried. And what EFT does is it talks to that part of the back of your brain. There's a little pea-sized thing called the amygdala that's actually responsible for whether you live or die. And so if it thinks that something's going to kill you, it'll give you a surge of cortisol in your system, which lawyers are really good. We live off of that cortisol.
And adrenaline, man. Cortisol and adrenaline.
Exactly. We're all about it.
Mainlined all the time.
And it's a necessary hormone, right? It is a bogeyman in some way, but the problem is it builds and builds in your system. We don't have time to do the physical. We make a decision not to take the time to do the physical work to actually drive those cortisol levels down, for example, right?
I think you have time.
Exactly. And so we get this really screwy thing with our bodies where then we all of a sudden can't go to sleep at night and we can't wake up in the morning. And that's, I think, a lot of the dependencies that we see. It's like we can't even do the basic things.
Right back to the beginning of the alcohol and the caffeine that you were talking about.
And we literally tapping on those points around our body, and it tells the amygdala, they're there now. No, you're not going to die. No, we're okay. You're safe. We're not going to die. You're okay. You're okay. Breathe. And it actually, when you're in that state, for lawyers, it can feel trance-like. People come to my workshops and they're like, what did you do to me? That's closer to your stasis. The way that you are in the world keeps you really wired and tired. And what we did was we returned you to stasis. That's the power of what we do. And now you can actually think about what you want your practice to look like. Because if you are fight, flight, or freeze, you have no idea what you want. You're trying to not die. And now we're like, you're alive. You're okay.
You're alive. You're okay. So we were talking about how you can't, once your nervous system is regulated, then you can look about what do you want? How do you build a book of business that's sustainable?
And what's the practice you actually want?
And what's the kind of practice you actually want? All right, beautiful. Michelle, where can people find you when you're not on Carnegie Hall?
When not on Carnegie Hall, you can find me at resistantvision.com, all one word.
So that's resistantvision.com.
You can find me on IG at resistant_vision.
And we will put all this in the show notes.
And if you email me at info@resistantvision.com, I'm more than happy to connect with you that way.
Beautiful. Michelle, thank you so much. Another time, maybe we'll do a little special on tapping.
I would love that.
Maybe we could do a whole just podcast episode on tapping. That would be great.
Let's do that.
Okay, good. All right, part 2. Stay tuned for another part with Michelle Thompson. Thank you so much for being here and listening to this episode of the Will Podcast. Please, if you like what you hear, share it with a woman lawyer in your life to remind her that this is not a measure of what she's capable of. Thanks so much. Where there's a will, there's a way. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Will Podcast. If you liked what you heard, please rate, review, and share it with another woman lawyer in your life. If you are curious to explore your next steps, you're invited to book a private confidential consultation. And here's a special link we've set up just for podcast listeners. Go to consultation.womeninterestedinleavinglaw.com. Again, that is consultation.womeninterestedinleavinglaw, all one word.com, to schedule your confidential consultation today. Where there's a will, there's a way. Let's get you on your next step way today.